Okay, I've already watched both of these runs, and I think psychologically the thing that's really hurting you is that you've had other people run him, and he seems to run better for those people, right? And now you're pretty convinced that it's because those people are mobile and they're able to run ahead. I think maybe the speed of the handler helps a little bit because they take certain lines that you're not able to take. And so maybe that's a little different to the dog. But I think if you adjust your handling a little bit, I think you'll be okay. And we'll be able to avoid some of those spots because it works the other way as well. So with a faster drivey dog, they're making your handling look a little bit better in some spots, right? Um, so sometimes where you might be a little weak, the faster, more driven dog kind of covers that up, and no one can really notice that. But then here you're going to run into that issue. Um, so this, of course, is a tough spot here. It looks like, yeah. So I don't see any pull here. I don't see any change. So maybe they're supposed to be verbal. You start clapping when the dog's already on the downside, right? So this is just the timing of the cue. All of your verbals with this particular dog, I think, are definitely late. If you're going to clap, and the clap is used to get the attention, the clap should always be on the takeoff side. That's when you should start putting your hands together. Once the dog is landed, they're already committed, especially in this setup where this is definitely less than 20 feet. I prefer the throttle handling. If you turn into your dog, that's a little clearer and you can get him into the tunnel here. So this is just handler error and has nothing to do with your speed. All right, so I'm going to try and see what we can do to cover for your speed and see what isn't. So here's an interesting spot. Um, because the dog needs to go this way, and before the dog is committed to that obstacle, you've moved on to the new track here, right? And so the dog still needs to go this way, but you're no longer headed in that direction. So this one, you just literally pulled the dog off the jump. You can definitely work on the dog's commitment, but that's a tough spot. Here you have to recognize that the dog is not actually headed for the tunnel. No dog is. Even if I were doing what you were doing, I would be pushing Gitchy into this tunnel here. So this is a really obnoxious part of the course where I would probably be using SERP handling. But if you just run straight and expect the dog to parallel you, generally you're going to have to shove him to the tunnel because he's doing the correct thing, which he's reading the course, right? And it's this. So if we look here, that's what makes sense to the dog. Or a rear cross in the flat, which again is exactly what the dog does. So I don't see any problems there. I thought the weave performance is nice. This is good. This is good. And now here we run into a problem, all right? So we know we're turning our dog left here, but you're actually putting your dog straight into the tunnel. All right, so you have to rear cross before this jump if you're going to turn them there. So I would rear cross and then come to a dead stop, and that would create a nice wrap behavior. If we check the takeoff point right here, you're still moving forward. Remember, you can do these decels from way behind, right? But you're taking big steps forward, so you're definitely driving the dog wide. So that's not a situation where being faster or being further ahead is going to help you at all, right? You just needed to rear cross in the right place and then come to a correct dead stop, right? So those are handling fixes. So far, I'm not really seeing anything that you need to be faster. And what do you know? We're at the end of the run. Okay, so you don't need to run ahead. You can handle that. One thing I like to do when I'm trialing in the middle of a season is do all rear crosses on a course and then all front crosses and then try and work on a little distance. And I do that with Gitchy and it's made us better. So, I feel like it's kind of a little bit of a pity party when you say, well, I can't run in front of my dog and show him everywhere and he's running so good for other people. And I think, you and your dog can run just fine from behind. Here's a spot where you're doing your front cross and it's already too late. The dog's in the air before you throw down this first step. But you have perfect footwork. So you go right, left, right, power step. And because of that perfect footwork, even with the late front cross, look at that. We have a beautiful response, beautiful turn to the A-frame. But I've got to ask you this. On this line here, I see A-frame here, and then I see a slight turn away. And so if I'm doing this, especially with the angles of these jumps, so if we look at the angle here, it's this way and this way on the jump, right? The dogs naturally have to go this way, especially dogs that square up, especially this jump, the way this jump is oriented, and then you've got this dummy jump or the trap jump out here. I'm never going to want to handle the A-frame on the side. So you made a lot of effort to get to the other side, and I don't think that's the right play here. Right? You can stay on the other side and be, as the dog is down here, maybe a little further ahead, kind of where the judge is. Not as far lateral to where the judge is. So not here, but maybe over here, right? But basically on the other side of the A-frame, right? And then you can pull the dog to this yellow jump. So to me, again, not a speed issue or front cross issue. And then this is just an easy rear cross, right? You rear cross in through here. So the dog goes white, yellow, rear cross creates the turn. And that's fine. Onto the table. Okay, and then here we're having problems again with movement. You have to stop. And again, you don't have to be here to do the decel, right? Let's see, dog's entering takeoff zone. Here's the liftoff, right? Dog is lifting off, so if we go one stride back, it's right here. So when the dog is getting right here, stop moving. Make this your last step right here, come to a stop. Go right and left and stop right next to it. But instead, the dog's about to take off now, and you got a left step, and then you rotate the body. So on these decels, for crossover dogs, so remember, your two dogs are different. The new dog had a fresher start. This one is very much running your old system of handling. The handling where rotation like this on this kind of setup when you're trying to decel is going to create oftentimes the turn away, right? Some people call it the hip check, the slingshot. But basically you rotate this way, but your body slides in this way. So you're doing two things. So let's break those motions down. Let's take a look. The body is facing this way, and now the body rotates. Okay, so we can agree that here to here, I'm going to wiggle it back and forth, your body is rotating. Now if your body is rotating in place, it's still not great, but it's better than what you're doing because you're also moving forward. So if your body rotates in place and slides forward, it almost always creates a turn away from you. Okay, especially, I'm just going to say it, for Greg Derrett trained dogs. Classic Greg Derrett trained. This is a huge problem we had in our dogs. All right, so the answer there is don't rotate, stay facing this direction and just come to a dead stop. And then the dogs always turn the correct way, and once you see they're starting to peek over to the right, now you can move on to the next part of the course. Okay, back into the tunnel, and now we're going to do the double. Teeter, blind cross. You can do the rear cross there just fine. Since the dog had already landed, I think this is probably better done as a rear cross. So you don't have to hold the dog there so long. Jump. Beautiful weave performance. And you're done. Okay, so we just got through both courses, and never was the answer, you need to be further ahead, you need to do all these front crosses, you need to do these blind crosses, you need to be faster. Everything could have been done with better execution. Every move that I talked about, I could have done without needing to run fast everywhere. It's just rear cross and timing and doing lateral distance. A great place for me to practice all of those spots on this course. So you could definitely have gotten through. Okay? So, yeah. So that's what I think about that. I think in general these runs are much better than your comments led me to believe before I saw the video. And you were very close to getting two brilliant, flawless runs. You can see that you're making very, very small mistakes, if you want to call them mistakes.